Update. Am I the a-hole for taking away my wife's access to our money? Original story. I have been married to my wife Ashley for 7 years. I am the only one that works, and Ashley spends her time volunteering at a charity she started. I am fine with this, as I make enough for both of us. In financial decisions, we have equal say. I will admit that I am the numbers nerd of the relationship, so I do the budget and handle our investments. My wife has equal input into the budget, and we both have to agree on it. Like many people, we are saving for retirement and a couple of other financial goals. Ashley's sister and her family are going through a lot of financial issues at the moment. My brother-in-law lost his job, and my sister-in-law is reaching out to my wife for help. They're asking for us to cover their monthly expenses. I said no, that while we have some discretionary money, we don't have that much. Both my wife and I get fun money to spend however we wish each month. So I told my wife that I would match whatever amount of her fun money she wants to give her sister from my fun money. My wife doesn't want to do that as she says that won't be enough money. She wants us to reduce the amount we are saving each month to help her sister. I refused. I do not want to jeopardize my family's future for her sister's present. Ashley was very unhappy with my answer, but I refused to change my mind. I found out last week that my wife gave her sister money out of our general savings account. I was furious. To me, this is a complete betrayal of trust. I confronted her, and her reply was that I forced her to go behind my back by being unreasonable. I was angry. I ended up going to the bank and opening up new accounts in my name only. I moved the balances to my new accounts. I left in enough money for the expenses that she typically pays according to our budget. Things like groceries, her gas, etc., as well as her fun money. I did not leave her without access to any money, but I did leave her with access only to money that she's supposed to spend according to the budget we both agreed to. I went home and told her what I had done, and now she's accusing me of financially mistreating her. I pointed out that she's the one that took advantage of my trust, not the other way around. That it is on her to prove to me that she's worthy of my trust because after what she did, I don't trust her anymore. She said that if that was the case, she should just leave, that she wasn't going to be treated as a child. I told her to leave then, because I wasn't going to give her the opportunity to steal from me again when it is clear she isn't even sorry for what she did. She'll have to stay with her sister. I believe I am completely justified for what I have done. She's the one that broke our agreement. Did I take it too far, though? This was the first time she ever did anything like this. Did I let anger get the best of me? Am I the a-hole for taking away her access to the money? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You nailed it there at the end. She stole from you. No excuse. My husband and I have similar financial agreement, and I simply cannot imagine doing what your wife did. Such a betrayal. So she has gone to stay with her sister, the one who's broke? So now there's another mouth to feed in that house. She's going to essentially be the sole provider for that household out of her own money? I think she'll be back. The question is whether Opie will want her back. Betrayal is exactly the word. Opie made a reasonable suggestion for the amount of financial help they could offer her sister's family, but that wasn't good enough. She stole from the person she's supposed to be in love with, who has supported her financially for the duration of the marriage, and then even had the nerve to claim financial mistreatment when Opie moved to protect his hard-earned assets. He is definitely not the a-hole. Actually, that's a good point. Will sister even want her now that she doesn't have the seemingly unlimited funds of support as monthly sister might have been hoping for? Will wife be out with sister and Opie? Hopefully we get an update. I came here ready to thank you were an a-hole from the title, but I think that what your wife did was awful. You said you would contribute the same amount of fun money as she did to her sister, doubling the loan effectively, and your wife went behind your back to unilaterally take joint funds, so her fun money won't be affected. You are not the a-hole. Your wife is being an unreasonable mooch. Normally, I hate how quick Reddit is to tell people to dump their partners, but if you don't have kids, now is a great time to consider whether you can handle a lifetime of this person and his behavior. Exactly. If the wife wanted to give a larger amount of money to her sister, then she could, I don't know, get a job? Not the a-hole. She was the person who was being unreasonable here. You did not mistreat her financially. I am not sure if this was taken too far. It sounds entirely reasonable for what you have written. I guess you need to ask yourself what you will do if she doesn't compromise at all. That is the big question. I love her, but I can't see myself staying with someone I can't trust. Now for the update. Well, it looks like the posters that commented that my marriage is doomed were correct. First, after reading the posts, I agreed that it was not fair that I had access to our savings and she did not, even though she gave some away without my consent. Following the advice of several posters, I contacted my bank and I found out that the account could be changed, so that while both of us could deposit money, it would take both our signatures to take money out of the account. This would give her the same control over the accounts that I had by putting them under my name. I contacted Ashley to let her know that I would put the money back in the joint account if we switched the account to require both of our signatures. She said no, that just showed that I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't, that she had taken money without my consent, so of course I didn't trust her. She refuses to change the account and I refuse to give her unrestricted access. So right now I am still the only one with access to the money. We also tried marriage counseling, another suggestion that posters brought up multiple times. The counselor asked both of us to say what we thought was wrong with our relationship. Ashley said that I had mistreated her by taking away her access to money. I said that Ashley had broken my trust by giving away money without my consent. It took a few sessions, but it's because pretty clear that we just weren't going to see things the same way. I wasn't going to commit to supporting her sister's family, and she refused to see giving them money without my consent as a breach of trust. The kicker came when it got to be close to the end of the month, and Ashley demanded, not ask, demanded that I put $3,000 in the account for her to use to pay her sister's bills. Her reasoning was, since she stayed there, we owe it to them. I told her she was ridiculous, and that if I wouldn't do that while we were together, why in the world would I do it now? She walked out of the session and told me that she wouldn't continue counseling until I agreed. I contacted a lawyer and filed for a legal separation, and will be filing for divorce. I found that I'm legally obligated to pay usual and ordinary bills of the household, but I am not required to pay any bills for where she moved to since she left voluntarily. So I'm doing what I am required to, including things like paying for her car insurance and her cell phone, but I'm not giving her access to any other funds. She has asked, more like demanded, I give her money as she will be getting it when we divorce, but I don't have a way of making sure whatever she is given comes out of the final settlement. So I'm refusing. I can't stress this enough. Obey your attorney. Do not take the high road or man up or any of the other BS things people are going to tell you that you need to do. You only need to obey your attorney. That's it. I'm sorry this happened to you. Best advice, and only advice to take. Do nothing more and nothing less. Do whatever your lawyer is telling you to do. It's too bad you don't have a prenup. Since she wasn't working, you might have to pay alimony. I hope things work out for you in the future. And I'm sorry you were taken advantage of like this. At least you know now how selfish and self-absorbed she is. And that reality will bite her hard when she realizes she needs to get a job and support herself now. From a comment Opie made after he posted the original, alimony isn't a thing in the state. Thank goodness, I'd say. Meanwhile, sister-in-law is sitting back, rubbing her hands together, waiting for the divorce payout money she'll convince her sister to hand over to her. Opie's wife blew up her own comfy life for what exactly? What an idiot. She needs to wake up to her bad attitude. Helping her sister is one thing, but what she did and how she went about it are very entitled. I hope no kids are involved. Have you spoken to your sister-in-law and explained what her financial demands have cost? We do not have children, and I have not spoken to sister-in-law. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my stepson return home without punishment after he ruined my daughter's book collection? My biological 12-year-old daughter Susan likes to collect and read old children's books, and she's become an incredible reader. She had problems with reading and learning before, and we were advised to encourage her to read. And ever since she started reading, which she does regularly, her skills improved. She also reads to her 2-year-old sister every night. I have a 16-year-old stepson, Levi, who can be a hothead sometimes. We don't have a son-dad relationship, but I respect him and he respects me, though he can act quite mean and selfish towards me and his sisters. He'd throw away stuff that belongs to us over small arguments, and teases Susan for spending a lot of time to read, calling her grandma. My wife and I discussed his behavior and had conversations and agreed on punishments, but Levi would go to his dad's place whenever it causes troubles, then have his dad yell at me for wanting to discuss a suitable punishment. Then Levi comes home days later expecting me to let go of what he did every time. It's frustrating. I got a call at work from Susan saying Levi took her entire book collection and threw them in the pool after she refused to lend him and his friends her camera for a trip. My wife helped get them out, but they were wet and some were torn. It was horrific, because some of those books are hard to get and meant a lot to Susan as a part of her life. I was so mad at Levi that I came home to have a conversation with my wife to decide on a punishment, but he already packed a small bag and went to his dad's. I asked my wife how could she let him basically run after doing this, and she said he called his dad and he came to pick him up after Susan said that I was coming home to deal with a problem. I went to his dad's house and he refused to let me see him. I told him how Levi was hiding from consequences, and his dad tried to justify why Levi was acting out by blaming me for how me and Susan treat him. He even said he'd get CPS involved if I ever tried to punish him, because I'm not his dad, so I have no right. Adding that what Levi did was a reaction to my daughter being mean to him. He told me to leave because Levi won't come home till I promise not to do anything about what he did and put it in writing. I told him Levi should stay here with him then. He's not gonna come back till he get a proper punishment. His dad argued it's his mom's house too and called my wife. And she asked to let this go and we'll figure out some way to resolve it. But I don't think it's fair for Susan to have her books ruined and Levi getting away with it. They're asking me to let it go. But this will only encourage Levi to do worse if I don't deal with it now. It's been 2 weeks and my in-laws say I was out of line for banning Levi from coming home and are telling me to step back. But I refused. Edit. Levi's dad thinks that because I'm not his bio dad, then I have no right to punish him for whatever he does in the house. In the past, his dad caused issues when I used to take Levi's electronics that his dad bought as punishment. Then I got talked out of punishing him every time he did something unacceptable, whether to me or his sisters. I've arranged for family therapy, but Levi's dad refused to let him go. I'd like to mention that my in-law said that Levi is willing to apologize to Susan, and so this should be enough to get this over with. But I kept saying no, and for that I'm being considered at fault. Now for the comments. Not today, Hull. If your wife refuses to punish her son, then you need to divorce her. Or at the very least, move into a separate house with Susan and your youngest daughter until Levi's out of the house for good. If your stepson continues to get away with hurting Susan with no consequence, Susan is going to suffer greatly. This is a hill to die on. Edit. To everyone telling me that divorce is a crazy suggestion and is an overreaction, I would like to point out my suggestion specified that he should do it if his wife refuses to punish her son. I'm not saying that he shouldn't try to convince his wife first. I'm saying that if she continues to go along with her ex-husband and refuse to punish her son when her son does horrible things to his daughter, then Opie needs to separate his daughters from the stepson. If Opie does manage to get his wife on his side, then no, obviously he shouldn't need to divorce his wife. Agree 100%. This is a hill to die on. Not just for the daughter, but also Levi. He needs not only the consequence of his action, but intervention from a trained professional. I'd start with selling everything he has at your house and using the money to start replacing her books. A-Books is a good website for purchasing hard-to-find books. Another vote for this being a hill to die on, your daughter needs to see some justice here. Not today, Hull. You don't teach respect by acting disrespectfully. Children are smart enough to see hypocrisy for what it is. Justice is banning the boy from the house. Stealing from the boy would only be revenge. Solving the issue would be dealing with the mom who lets this happen. File a complaint in the small claims court for the value of the books. Keep it up with everything he destroys. When Bio Dad is on the hook for paying all of his destructive behavior, he'll change his tune. Now that sounds like a plan. I couldn't imagine losing my books at the hands of a sibling, especially considering the book prices aren't exactly going down with time. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex and her boyfriend that they should act like the soccer game was life? I, male 25, have an 8-year-old son who loves soccer more than anything. He plays in a team, he plays with friends, and even joins me and my friends on Saturday evenings. His mom wasn't in his life until he was 7. I don't know why she didn't want to be in his life, but I accepted it. I'm saying this because till now, their relationship is rocky. His birthday was a week ago, And after I celebrated with his friends, I finally managed to get a whole day just for my son. Considering that I can't let him stay up till 1 a.m. to watch Copa America, I recorded the game of his favorite team, Colombia against Brazil, and we were ready to watch it on Saturday. A few friends of mine came with a Brazil flag and a Colombian flag, so that in case Colombia won, my son could laugh at my friends. Their idea. My ex and her boyfriend came too. No clue why she brought him, as we never invited him, nor did my son. We threw a few steaks on the grill, got ready, and started the game. Then the boyfriend of my ex wanted to bet on the game, searched up the stats, and noticed that at this point the game happened a few days ago. Instead of rationally thinking and playing along, he simply said Brazil won 2-1. I was too late, but still told him to shut up. My son went upstairs in his room and me and my friends wanted them to leave for what they did. I got a call later the day from my ex, saying that I should have told them this in advance. I simply hung up and ignored all the other calls. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My ex doesn't understand soccer, and her boyfriend wasn't invited. So I thought that I don't really need to tell her the game is recorded and not live. Who the hell places bets on a game at an 8-year-old's birthday party? Real winner, that guy. Never thought about that. And on top of that, for a sport he clearly doesn't follow, otherwise would not have needed to look up on his phone to find out the game was from 2 days before. Not the a-hole. It was obvious to anyone with a brain that the people in that room didn't know the results of the game yet. He spoiled it deliberately. You also didn't have the chance to pre-warm him since he wasn't invited. You're not the a-hole. You also didn't have the chance to pre-warm him since he wasn't invited. This point needs to be shouted loudly. Not the a-hole. The boyfriend wasn't invited, and common sense states that if it seems like no one knows the outcome, you keep your mouth shut. Not the a-hole. I feel so bad for your son. That was a really good idea you all had, and some prick ruined it. Your ex should have asked if she could bring him over, and given his lack of social awareness that he shouldn't have gone, it doesn't shock me that he's placing bets at a child's party. Yeah, but we ended up watching the Colombia versus Uruguay game, and fortunately Colombia won that one.